there you have it. It's shortened. My friend Daniel advised me to shorten my intro, so I did. Anyway, so hey guys, Telecontestant here, and today I would like to talk to you about using layer masks in Photoshop. You might be saying, what the heck is a layer mask? Well, you came to the right place because I'm going to be talking about what layer masks are and how to use them when I'm messing around in Photoshop. So I will be specifically using the program Photoshop CS6, but you can apply these methods to earlier versions as well. First things first, what is a layer mask? Layer masks are these thingies you can put over top of a layer to modify its properties without messing up your picture. Don't get this confused with dressing up for Halloween, unless you're watching this on Halloween and you're already dressed up. That would be weird, but okay. As you can see here, I have my layers window at the right, which will show all of my layers. And the way that they're positioned in this window reflects how they are stacked in your work area. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my sample image here. It's a little kitten. Oh, look at the yarn. Oh. Anyway, so as you can see here on the right, I've got my background layer. It's locked, meaning that I can't move it, I can't edit it. So for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the background and click Layer from Background. Go ahead and give it a name, so I'll call it Kitten. Kitten. Yeah. Click OK. Then I'm going to right click on the layer, duplicate the layer. Just so, you know, I've got two copies of the same layer. So I'm just going to show you really quick, in case you don't already know how layers work. But if you do, go ahead and skip this part. But if you don't, I'm going to go ahead and just draw a little mustache on this kitten on my top layer. See, he's got a little mustache. Give it a little goatee. Maybe some eyebrows. So now I've got a kitten with a mustache on my top layer. And then if I go ahead and click the eye to hide it, normal on the bottom layer. Mustache, no mustache. Mustache, no mustache. Mustache, top hat, no mustache. So now it's at the bottom. So now you got a good idea of how layers work. So I'm going to go ahead and open another document. So File, Open, Donald Trump. There he is in all of his glory. So the reason why I've opened this document is because I like to show you how I'm going to take this picture and put it in the other picture to make it part of the layers. So first thing I'm going to do is hit Control A to select the entire document. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, or you can do Control C. Click on my other document, Kitten, and then Control V or Edit Paste. So Edit, Paste. So now you don't see it because it's in the middle of this layer. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete the one where I drew a top hat on the kitten. Yes. Drag it on top. So now Donald Trump is on top of the kitten. So now I've got two different layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just create a selection around his head because I only want his head to be shown. I don't want anything else. And the reason for this is because I'm going to be photoshopping his head on that kitten. So if I go ahead and create a selection around his head, now it doesn't have to be perfect, and I'll show you why in a second. So you've got your selection around his head, and the thing that you want to do next is go ahead and click on the little icon that looks like a circle on a square, and if you hover over it, it says Add Layer Mask. Make sure your layer that you want to edit is selected. Click Add Layer Mask. So there you have it. And what this does is it takes that selection that you made, fills everything on the outside with black, which is for transparency, and then white in the center. So if you look over here in your layers panel, you've got your normal layer, which you click, you can edit. You got your layer mask, which you can edit. But if you were to remove this layer mask, which I'll do just to show you, your original image is still there. Wow, that's awesome. Top hat. So I'm going to go ahead and just undo that because I want to work with my layer mask. And now I have the ability to just freely move the image around the screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and just position this over top of the cat. Now, for editing purposes, what I normally do is I make sure I select the layer. I change the opacity just slightly so I can kind of see what's underneath it, because I'd like to line this up with the kitten exactly. Just like that. Just so it kind of makes sense. So I'll change that back to 100. So now, with the layer mask selected, make sure you select the layer mask. Go ahead and switch your paintbrush to white. Choose your paintbrush tool. Change the opacity, to about 19, because what you're going to be kind of doing is you're going to be blending the image. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to change it to black, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend the image into the kitten. So just kind of ever so slightly, just going to kind of click around the fur around his area, and it kind of makes a transparency around him. Kind of blur out his ear because he doesn't need to have an ear because he has ears on his head. Just like a little kitten. You'll kind of make it blend with his hair a little bit. And this is why layer masks are so fun to work with, because you're not actually erasing the image. If you ever need it later and you have a very big project that you're working on, you'll be able to go back and kind of change the image. I'll show you that in a second. Mostly I use layer masks for blending purposes because it really comes in handy. Oh, see, look at that, I screwed up. So the beauty about layer masks is you can get the image back. So what's the opposite of black? White. So go over here and select, make sure you select white here. And what you can do is, with the same tool selected, if you just go ahead and just start painting where you want the image to be with the layer mask selected, it starts coming back. So you could really get into some really cool blending detail with this. What I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of make this yarn look like it's coming out of his mouth. So I'm going to zoom in. If you hit Control plus, you'll zoom into the image. I'm going to go ahead and, with the layer selected, change the opacity to, 30 a little bit. Just enough to where I can see where the yarn enters the cat's mouth. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a selection around the yarn where I want the yarn to be visible. I'm going to show you another cool trick with your selections. If you create a selection, if you create a selection and go to Select, Refine Edge, it'll kind of briefly separate your selection from everything. And I have everything usually preset, but you can change how smooth you want your edges to be to really kind of blend it in for you. So I'll leave it at that. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the layer mask again. I'm going to make the opacity come back so I can kind of see where I'm at. I'm going to select the layer mask again, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch back to black and kind of fill in that selection with the black so it'll make it transparent. Let's say I don't like the position of where his mouth is. I'm going to go ahead and just select the layer and move the entire layer. So after I clear the selection here, so usually when I do that is I just make a new selection, double click, but I'm going to click the layer, and I'm just going to move the layer over to about there. And then I need to make that part of his face come back. So I'm going to click the layer mask again, and I'm just going to, lightly click right here using white to kind of make his face just come back. And this is very helpful when you're working on projects. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the yarn thing again. So again, I'm going to change the opacity of the entire layer just so I can see the yarn. Oh, look at the kitty. And then I'm just going to reselect the yarn again. go up to select refine edge. Make sure it's refined. Click OK. Shut up! Click on my layer mask. Change it to black. And just fill in the selection so that the yarn's visible. Then I'm going to change the opacity back to 100 so that I can see Donald Trump's beautiful face. And there you go. It's a little better. Zoom out. Get a good look at him. Remove the selection. So there you go. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup work on my layer mask here. Then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the light. So normally what I'll do is I'll go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. Just kind of mess with this little doohickey. So there you have it. Ready for the election. So if you like this tutorial video, please like and subscribe and share it on Facebook, because the more views I get, the more I'll be able to probably create my own website. So thanks and have a great day. Top Hat.